Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Lamed Zayin Amid Aleph at the new Mishnah. The Mishnah turns to the avoid of the Shnei Seirim. Specifically, the Pasuk says, Vehemid oisom lifnei Hashem. You shall stand the he-goats before Hashem. Explains the Mishnah. Ba'loi la mizrach ha'azara litzofan ha'mizbeach. The Kohen Gadol goes to the eastern part of the Azara, to the north of the Mizbeach. Hasgan miyamino v'rosh beis av mismolo. To the right, he's flanked on one side. To the Sgan HaKohanim, the Sgan HaKohanim is standing on his right side. On his left, that is the Rosh Beis Av. The Sgan HaKohanim is the one who would take the Kohen Gadol's place in case he became apostle. He's the assistant. And the Rosh Beis Av, the Beis Av are those Kohanim are serving that day. The Rosh Beis Av will stand on the left side of the Kohen Gadol. Vesham Shnei Seirim. And there are placed two he-goats. V'kalpi haisasham. There's a box that is situated over there. Uboshne garolois shel eshkroya hayu. And there are two garolois that are made out of wood. Two wooden tablets. V'osan ben gamlo shel zohav. Subsequently, Ben Gamla, he made those tablets of garolois out of gold. They used to be made out of wood, and he changed them. He then donated so that they should be made out of gold. And they remembered him for shevach, for praise, for donating these golden garolois. Once we're talking about being mazkir oisoy l'shvach, we mentioned others who donate to the Beis HaMikdash, and we're mazkir them l'shvach. Explains the Mishnah, Ben Katin hoso yud beis dad likior. Before Ben Katin came along, there were only 2 spouts of the kior, and he donated that there should be 12 spouts to the kior. Shelo hayaloi ela shnayim, because until then there was only 2. And therefore he wanted to make it so that all of the Kohanim can participate at once before doing the Korban Tamid, which required really 13 people involved in the service of the Korban Tamid, but only 12 needed to be Mekadesh Yodayim V'Raglayim by the Kior, since one of them could even be a non-Kohen to Shech the Korban Tamid. V'af hoyu hu also muchni l'kior shelo yu miyamav meimav nifsolin balina. He also donated a muchani. A muchni is a form of a wheel to then turn the kior, so that would be then inside and connected to the mayan, whereby it won't have a problem of lina being poisel the mayim. Munbaz hamelech haya oise kol yodos hakelim shel Yom Kippur shel zov. Munbaz, the king, he donated that all of the kelim's handles should be made out of gold. Hilni imo, his mother Hilni, also the nivresha shel zohov. She donated a chandelier of gold. Al Pesach Heichal, which was situated in the entranceway to the Heichal. V'af hi also tavla shel zov. She also donated a golden tavla, that the parsha of the soita should be written on that golden tavla. Finally, the Mishnah says, Nikanor nasu nisim l'dalosoisov. Nikanor, in regards to Nikanor, he donated special copper doors that were the entranceway, what we call Shar Nikanor, which is really the furthest east, the entrance going into the Azara from the Ezra's Kohanim, and that entranceway was Shar Nikanor, and Nisim, which the Gemara will explain, took place in order to then allow those gates to come and be put over there, and therefore they were called Shar Nikanor and replaced and named there as a remembrance for him. And the Mishnah concludes, V'hayim mazkirin oison lishvach. All of these who donate to the Beis HaMikdash, they're all remembered for shevach, for praise. The Gemara points out, Midekoma letzafoin hamizbeach. The Mishnah starts out by saying, Boloi la mizrach. The Kohen Gadol comes to the east of the Azara, and then goes on to say, letzafoin hamizbeach. So the Mishnah Gomar points out, Midekama Litzafon HaMizbeach, and the fact that I had to say to the north, I had to go to the north of the Mizbeach, Michlal, the Mizbeach La B'Tzofon Koi, that the Mizbeach itself was not in the north. He had to go to the north. Mani, who's the author then of our Mishnah that says he has to go to the north? Because the Mizbeach was situated in the south. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, the Tanya, Tzafoino Lifnei Hashem. The Pasuk says that it was Yerech HaMizbeach Tzafoino Lifnei Hashem. The fact that it says Yerech HaMizbeach Tzafoino, it was to the north, was considered to be Lifnei Hashem. Sheetzafon Kuloi Panui Divrei Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It must mean to say that everything was to the north, even the Mizbeach itself, to be Panui, to be a clear area. That means all of the area from the north, even from the altar itself, the Mizbeach itself was Panui. That means to say that the Mizbeach itself was not in the north, but the Panui, the area, was to the north. V'ha, Reisha Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Shimon, he asked the Gemara, but we said the previous Mishnah was authored by Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Shimon. Who was Rabbi Eliezer ben Shimon? We said that he holds that, unlike the prior opinion that says that the Lifnei Hashem means straight above the Mizbeach, the area north to the Mizbeach until the wall of the Azara. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Shimon said even west of that, and we said that he meant that also includes between the Ulam and the Mizbeach, to which we said that he is the author of the previous Mishnah, because the Kohen Gadol is standing and being misvade on the par, and then subsequently shechting the par in the north. That's where he has to do it. And between the Ulam and the Mizbeach is where he's standing. So we say that must be in the north, that must be according to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Lozar. So the Gemara is asking Estira, how could it be that he was authoring the previous Mishnah, which is the Reisha, and this Mishnah, which is the Seif, was authored by Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov? Answers the Gemara, Kula Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It is all including the previous Mishnah of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. If that's the case, how can we say the Kohen Gadol stood between the Ulam and the Mizbeach? It has to be in the Makom that's Safoin. And this Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov teaches us that the Mizbeach was in the Daroim. Answers the Gemara, V'tani bebein ha'ulam la Mizbeach. It means that it wasn't really to the west of the Mizbeach, between the Ulam and the Mizbeach, but rather it was the northwest. And therefore, it was situated where the Mizbeach was in the south, and to the northwest of that was where the Kohen Gadol stood before. And now our Mishnah says that he goes from that area to the east of the Azara, where the two he-goats are standing. It states that the Kohen Gadol then stands in front of those he-goats, and he's flanked. To the right of him is the Sgan HaKohanim, and to the left of him is the Rosh Beis Av. Says the Gemara, Omer Rav Yehuda hamahalech b'liyamin, Rabbi harei zeh bur. Rav Yehuda teaches us that a person stands to the right of his rabbi, of his rebbe, while he is walking, or in situation where he's either standing or walking. In this case, it's hamahalech. So that means to say that while he's walking and he's on the right hand of his rebbe, that's considered to be a bur, somebody who's chaser even in derech eretz. In other words, what is he doing standing adjacent, right next to the Rebbe as he's walking? That implies that he's equal to his Rebbe. So that's a boorish type of behavior. Tanan, the Mishnah says, Hasgan biyaminoi, Rosh habeis av b'smolo. Our Mishnah says that Sgan is to the right and the Rosh habeis av is to the left, which implies that they're also standing next to the Kohen Gadol, which also seems to imply that there's some sort of equality. And we just learned from Rabbi Yehuda that would be considered to be a bur. V'oid, and further, Tanya says, Shloisha shayu mahalchim baderech. There are three that were traveling in the road. Harav be'emtza be'goda b'yamino v'koda mismolo. The Rav is in the middle. The greater of the two students is to the right, and the lesser stature is to the left. But here again implies that they are to the right and to the left of the Rebbe. V'chei matzina b'shloisha malachi hashari shebo eitzel Avrom. Michael be'emtzo, Gavriel b'yamino, v'Refa b'smoloi. The three angels that visited Avram Avinu, they also visited him in a shura, and we have Michael in the middle, Gavriel to the right, and Rifo to the left. Explains the Gemara, Targuma Rav Shmuel Bar Papa Kamed Rav Ada, to explain. Kidei she's kasei boy rabbi. Here we're talking about where they were standing behind the Rebbe, and the Malachim were standing behind Michael, and therefore it's not considered to be as an equal. Ask the Gemara, but still, Hatanyo Hamahalik Kineged Rabbi Hareze Bur, Acharei Rabbi Hareze Migasi Aruach. Even behind one's Rebbe, certainly if he's next to it, he's considered to be a bur, but even behind the Rebbe is considered to be Migasi Aruach, arrogance. So how can you tell me that that's something that's the way they stood? Answers the Gemara, the Metzaded Atstudi. What it means to say is they didn't stand directly behind the Rebbe, it was a little bit off to the side. So therefore it wasn't not an equal setting, to the right and to the left, directly next to the Rebbe, and wasn't behind either, but rather was mechase the Rebbe by being a little bit towards the side of the Rebbe, behind and towards the side. V'kalpi haisa shamu boshne garolos. The Mishnah says there was a box with 2 garolos. Tani Rabbanan. Gemara expounds on the following with the following brisa: V'nosan Aaron al shnei hasirim garolos. The pasuk says, and Aaron he will put the shnei seirim garolos. Garolos shall kol davar. The brisa explains it means in any type of material. We're not particular which are going to be used for the garolos. The Mishnah tells us that ultimately that it was donated by Ben Gamla, that he then donated them to be gold, but beforehand it doesn't have to make any type of specific material. Yachol, I might think yitain shnayim al zeh v'shnayim al zeh. Since it says garolos, I might think he has to put 2 on each he-goat. Talmud loymar goral echad laHashem v'goral echad la'azozel. That's why it says goral echad laHashem and goral echad la'azozel. Ein kan laHashem ela goral echad ve'ein kan la'azozel ela echad. Yocham, I think yitain shel shem v'shel azozel al zeh, that I have to put 1 shem and 1 azozel on each one, whereby the Kohen Gadol will determine which one is the shem and which one is the azozel. V'shel shem v'shel azozel al zeh. Talmud lomar goral echad laHashem ein kan laHashem ela echad ve'ein kan la'azozel ela echad. Since it already says goyal, which is singular, and then emphasizes the echad, it must be only 1 on one he-goat and 1 on the other he-goat. 1 laHashem on one he-goat and 1 la'azozel on the other he-goat. In Cain, asked the Gemara, ma Talmud lomar goralos. So why does it say in plural also goralos? Explains the brisa she used shavin, that they have to be equal. What does it mean the equal? Shal yaseh echad shal zov ve'echad shal kesef, echad gold ve'echad katan. They have to be the same types, either both made out of gold or both made out of silver, both big or both small. The brisa stated garola shal kol echad shal kol davar. In the beginning of the brisa it said that it could be a garolos made of any type of material. Ask the Gemara pshita, why would there be a hakpada on a specific type of material? Gemara says lo tzricha. I might think like the Tanya lefi shematzino betzitz shashem kostuv alov vushal zov. The tzitz, which is the head plate of the Kohen Gadol, there it's made of gold, and there it's written Hashem's name. So there I might think that that's also what has to be used for the garolos. Yocham, I think avzekain. Talmud loymar goral riba. Therefore it says goral twice in the pasuk. Riba as a ribui, to teach me riba shel zayis, riba shel egois, riba shel eshgeroya. All different types of wood that can be used for the garolos. It says ben kotin also shnei masar dad lekior. Beforehand the kior had 2 spouts, and he donated a kior with 12 spouts. Comments the Gemara with the following brisa tana. Kadeshu shnei masar echov hakohanim asukim betomid mekachin yedim ragleim bebas achas. Before the korban tomid, all 12 kohanim were able to mekadesh yodayim v'raglayim from the kior at the same time. Tana, and again we have emphasized before in the Mishnah that really there are 13 who are involved in the korban tomid, as the Mishnah taught us earlier. But only 12 of them have to mekadesh yodayim v'raglayim, because the one who's shoichet can be a non-kohen. and therefore it doesn't have to mekadesh yadayim v'raglayim in the kior. Tana, it's taught in the Brisa. This is going on the kior that was before the donation that were 12 spouts, but rather they only had 2 spouts originally. Shacharis b'miluoi mekadesh yadayim v'raglayim yadav v'raglav min al-elyon. In the beginning, in the early morning, when it was filled up, the kior, then they were able to wash their hands and their feet from the elyon, the top part of the kior. Arvis biridosoi, when the water went down towards the evening, then mekadi yodav v'raglav mina tachton, they could only then wash their hands and their feet from the bottom part of the kior. Afhu also muchnin the kior. The Mishnah states that Ben Gamla also, Ben Gamla, he also, in addition, not Ben Gamla, rather, Ben Kotin, in addition to donating the 12 spouts, he also donated the muchni. Afu also muchni the kior. Asking him, my muchni, what is this muchni that he donated? Explains the Gemara, Rabbaye Gilgolo Dahava Mashakyo lay. It was a wheel that went into allowed the kior to go inside and have hashkol, connection with the mayan, and therefore there won't be a problem of a lina, but will poisel the mayim. And that was used as a form of a pulley to then bring up the water to the kior every day.